The worst day of her life begins with a slap. A crowded Boston restaurant goes silent as a Congolese nurse strikes a man she doesn't know, only to learn he's one of the most dangerous men in the city. Instead of revenge, he asks her to dinner. What starts as one reckless moment turns into a forbidden connection no one approves of. A powerful family watching. A mother who demands obedience. A world where love is a liability. Then comes the dinner that changes everything. Humiliation at a family table, a woman ordered to leave, and a man forced to choose between legacy and love. When the ultimatum finally comes, power or her, he has 1 week to decide who he really is. But here's the question that changes everything. What do you give up when love costs you everything? And what happens if you walk away? 4 moments, 1 impossible choice, and a decision that will burn down an empire or build something entirely new. Welcome to Afro-Korean Drama TV. If you enjoyed this story, drop a like, subscribe for more Afro-Korean and diaspora love stories, and comment where you're watching from. Also, would you choose love or legacy? The slap echoed across the restaurant lobby like a firework. How dare you speak to me like that? Tanya snapped, her chest heaving as she glared at the man in the perfectly tailored black suit. Kwon Min touched his reddening cheek slowly, his dark eyes widening in genuine shock. Nobody had ever laid a hand on him like that. Not in 10 years. His security team stood frozen near the entrance, hands twitching toward their concealed weapons, waiting for his signal. But he just stared at her. The Congolese woman standing before him had fire in her brown eyes, her braids swinging as she trembled with anger. She'd bumped into him near the coat check, and when she didn't immediately apologize, he'd made a dismissive comment about people who didn't watch where they walked. Maybe it came out harsher than he intended. Probably because he'd just gotten terrible news about his shipping business. I said I was sorry, Tanya continued, her Congolese accent becoming thicker with emotion. You didn't have to call me careless like I'm some kind of fool. Kwon Min's jaw tightened. He should walk away. He should let his men handle this. But something about her refusal to back down even after realizing the entire restaurant had gone silent, it intrigued him. You slapped me, he said quietly, his Korean accent soft but precise. You deserved it, she shot back, though her hands were shaking now. She seemed to finally notice the expensive watch on his wrist, the way every staff member in the Boston establishment had gone pale and still. Do you know who I am? Kwon Min asked, tilting his head slightly. Tanya lifted her chin. Should I care? A sound escaped his throat. Was that a laugh? His second-in-command, Sang-uk, looked like he might faint. Nobody spoke to Kwon Min like this. Nobody dared. What's your name? Kwon Min asked instead of answering. She hesitated, probably realizing she might have made a terrible mistake. Tanya Okafor. Tanya, he repeated, the syllables unfamiliar on his tongue. You just assaulted one of the most dangerous men in Massachusetts. Her eyes went wide, but she didn't run. Look, I'm really sorry, okay? But you were rude first. So you think rudeness justifies violence? I think rudeness justifies a response. She crossed her arms, though he could see her pulse jumping at her throat. Are you going to have me arrested or something? Kwon Min considered this. He should. It would send a message. Nobody touched him without consequences. But when he opened his mouth, different words came out. Have dinner with me. Tanya's mouth fell open. What? Tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. He pulled a card from his inner pocket, holding it out to her. To make up for my rudeness. She stared at the card like it might bite her. This is insane. Probably, he agreed, the corner of his mouth lifting. But you slapped me in front of my entire organization, and I'm choosing not to make it a problem. The least you can do is let me apologize properly. Your entire... Oh my God. Tanya pressed her hands to her face. What kind of organization? The kind that imports and exports goods, Kwon Min said smoothly, which wasn't technically a lie. Take the card, Tanya. Or don't. But if you don't show up tomorrow, I'll find you any way to finish this conversation. That should have sounded threatening. It probably was threatening, but the way he said it, soft, almost curious, made it sound like something else entirely. Tanya snatched the card from his hand. Fine. One dinner. Then we're even. Even, Kwon Min agreed, though he was already thinking about what restaurant to take her to, what wine she might like, whether she preferred Korean food or... Wait. Why was he thinking about this so much? Tanya turned on her heel and walked toward the exit, her spine straight, her head high. She didn't look back once. Kwon Min watched her go, his hand still pressed to his stinging cheek. Boss? Sang-uk whispered urgently. Should we follow her? Find out where she lives? No, Kwon Min said quietly. She'll come. How do you know? Because she was curious too. He'd seen it in her eyes, behind the fear and anger, the same curiosity he felt burning in his chest. I just do, he said, turning away from the door. Now, what were you saying about the shipment from Vancouver? But he couldn't focus on business for the rest of the night. His mind kept returning to brown eyes and flying braids and the sharp crack of her palm against his face. Nobody had surprised him like that in years. The next evening, Kwon Min arrived at the restaurant 40 minutes early. He told himself it was to ensure security, to check the exits, to make sure his private booth was ready. But really, he just wanted to be there, waiting. She showed up at 7:03. Tanya wore a simple yellow dress that made her dark skin glow, her braids pulled back in an elegant style. She looked nervous but determined, clutching a small purse as the hostess led her to his table. You came, Kwon Min said, standing as she approached. I said I would. She slid into the booth across from him, her eyes darting around the upscale restaurant. This place looks expensive. It is. He gestured to the menu. Order whatever you want. Tanya opened the menu, and her eyes went comically wide. These prices don't have dollar signs, just numbers. That's because if you have to ask about the price... Kwon Min trailed off with a slight smile. You can't afford it, Tanya finished. I've heard that saying. Okay, what's good here? They spent the next 20 minutes talking about food. Just food. She told him about Congolese dishes her mother used to make, about missing the flavors of home even though she'd lived in the United States for 6 years. He told her about growing up in Seoul, about his grandmother's kimchi, about the strange American foods he still didn't understand. It was easy. Surprisingly easy. So, Tanya said finally, after their appetizers arrived, are you going to tell me what kind of business you actually run? Kwon Min set down his fork. Do you really want to know? She studied his face for a long moment. Maybe not all of it. But I'm not stupid. That wasn't a normal reaction yesterday. Those men with you, they weren't just employees. No, he admitted. They weren't. Are you, like a criminal? The blunt question made him laugh. Actually laugh, a sound that felt rusty and strange. That's complicated. It sounds like a yes. I run several legitimate businesses, Kwon Min said carefully. Import, export, real estate. But yes, some of my operations exist in gray areas. Nothing that hurts innocent people, he added quickly, seeing her expression shift. No drugs, no human trafficking, nothing like that. But I'm not exactly filing all my taxes correctly either. Tanya absorbed this silently. She should probably run. This was a terrible idea. But why did you ask me to dinner? Because you surprised me, Kwon Min said honestly. Nobody ever surprises me anymore. That's a weird reason to have dinner with someone. Probably. He leaned forward slightly. What about you? Why did you come? She bit her lip, thinking. Because you apologized. Sort of. And because I was curious what kind of man gets slapped and asks for a dinner date instead of whatever else you could have done. I could have done a lot of things, Kwon Min said quietly. That's not reassuring. It wasn't meant to be. But he smiled when he said it, and after a moment, she smiled back. They talked through 3 courses. He learned she worked as a nurse at a community hospital, that she sent money back to her family in Kinshasa every month, that she loved old movies and terrible reality TV. She learned he was 32, had a younger sister he was close to, and absolutely could not dance despite growing up in Korea. Everyone assumes all Korean men can dance, Kwon Min said, shaking his head. Very disappointing stereotype. So you're telling me you're a mafia boss who can't dance? Tanya grinned. That's almost sad. I never said I was a mafia boss. You didn't have to. When dinner ended, Kwon Min walked her to her car. A beat-up Honda with a dented bumper. He didn't comment on it, though he mentally calculated how much a new car would cost, whether she'd accept one if he offered. Probably not. She seemed proud. Thank you for dinner, Tanya said, unlocking her door. It was actually nice. Weird, but nice. Can I see you again? The words came out before he could stop them. She paused, her hand on the door handle. I don't think that's a good idea. Why not? Because you're you, and I'm just a nurse from Congo trying to make rent every month. This doesn't make sense. Maybe that's why it's interesting, Kwon Min suggested. Tanya looked at him for a long moment, her expression unreadable. Then she sighed. One more dinner. That's it. I need to make sure last night wasn't a fluke. A fluke? That you're actually tolerable to be around. But she was smiling when she said it. Kwon Min felt something strange in his chest. Something warm and unfamiliar. I'll try to be very tolerable. Good. She climbed into her car, then rolled down the window. And Kwon Min? Next time, somewhere less fancy. I felt like I might break something just by breathing wrong in there. He laughed. That rusty, unfamiliar sound again. Deal. As he watched her drive away, Sang-uk materialized at his elbow. Boss, your mother called 4 times during dinner. She wants to know why you missed the family meeting. Right. His mother. His family. His responsibilities. Kwon Min had almost forgotten about all of it for 3 whole hours. That should have worried him. Instead, he just smiled and headed to his car, already planning where to take Tanya next. 3 weeks later, Kwon Min realized he was in serious trouble. Not the business kind, though his mother's increasing irritation about his distraction was definitely becoming a problem. No, this was worse. He was falling for a woman who had absolutely no place in his world. You're smiling at your phone, his sister Mi-sun observed, peering over his shoulder in his office. That's disturbing? Kwon Min quickly locked his screen, but not before she caught a glimpse of Tanya's last text. A photo of a terrible hospital cafeteria lunch with the caption, "Living my best life." Who is that? Mi-sun demanded, her eyes lighting up. Oh my God, you're seeing someone. I'm not discussing this with you. You are. You're totally seeing someone. She bounced on her heels, thrilled. Does mother know? There's nothing to know, Kwon Min lied. It's just casual. Except it wasn't casual at all. He'd seen Tanya 12 times in 3 weeks. Dinner, coffee, a ridiculous arcade where she destroyed him at every single game, a walk through Boston Common where she told him about her childhood in Kinshasa. They'd gone to a movie, some romantic comedy she loved, and he pretended to tolerate. They'd visited an art museum where she spent 40 minutes staring at a single painting, explaining why the colors reminded her of home. He'd learned she took her coffee with way too much sugar, that she sang off-key to radio songs, that she had a terrible habit of adopting injured animals she found near the hospital. He'd learned she sent most of her money home but splurged on fancy hand cream because it reminded her of her grandmother. And somehow, without meaning to, he'd started telling her things too. About his father's death 5 years ago, about the pressure of running an organization he never asked to lead, about his sister's struggles with their mother's expectations. Nothing specific about the business. Never that. But enough that she was starting to understand him, which was dangerous. "Kwon Min," Mi-sun said seriously now, dropping onto his office couch. "If you're seeing someone, you need to tell Mother before she finds out another way." "There's nothing to tell. You're lying." She studied him carefully. "Is she Korean?" "No." Mi-sun winced. "That's going to be a problem." "I know that." Kwon Min rubbed his temples. "Which is why it doesn't matter, because it's not serious." But his phone buzzed again, and he couldn't help checking it. "Tanya. Working late shift tonight. Wish me luck with cranky patients." He found himself typing back immediately. "You'll be great. Text me when you get home safe?" "Oh, you're gone," Mi-sun said, reading his expression. Like, completely gone. She wasn't wrong. The real problem started 2 days later when his mother, Park Jun, showed up unannounced at his apartment. "We need to discuss your marriage prospects," she announced, sweeping past him into the living room in her usual elegant style. Kwon Min's stomach dropped. "Mother, I told you I'm not interested in..." The Lee family has a daughter, 26, educated in London, very accomplished. His mother sat precisely on his couch, her posture perfect. "I've arranged a meeting for next week." "No." Park Jun's eyes narrowed. "Excuse me?" "I said no. I'm not meeting anyone." "Kwon Min, you're 32 years old. It's time you married appropriately and produced heirs for this family. Your father understood duty. I expect the same from you." "Father married you," Kwon Min pointed out, "for love, not duty." "That was different. We were both from suitable families, both Korean, both..." She paused, studying him with sudden intensity. "You're seeing someone unsuitable." It wasn't a question. Kwon Min's silence confirmed it. His mother's expression went cold. "Who is she?" "That's my business." "Everything you do is family business," Park Jun snapped, standing. "You think you can run this organization while cavorting with some inappropriate woman? You think our associates will respect a leader who doesn't respect tradition?" "She's not inappropriate," Kwon Min said quietly, his voice dangerous. "And I'd be careful how you speak about her." His mother's eyes widened. She'd heard that tone before, usually right before he made decisions that terrified his enemies. She'd just never had it directed at her. "I see," she said slowly. "This is more serious than I thought." "Mother, bring her to dinner, Sunday night. If she's so important that you'd disrespect me over her, I should meet her." Park Jun moved toward the door, then paused. "But Kwon Min, know that if she's not suitable, this ends, one way or another." After she left, Kwon Min sat in silence for 20 minutes, his mind racing. He should end this now, before anyone got hurt, before his mother made good on whatever threat she was implying, before Tanya got pulled deeper into a world that could destroy her. But when he picked up his phone, he found himself texting her instead. "Can we talk? In person?" She replied within seconds. "Everything okay? I'm off tomorrow afternoon." "I'll pick you up at 1. There's something I need to tell you." He spent the entire night rehearsing what he'd say, how he'd explain about his family, about expectations, about the complications of his life that she didn't fully understand yet. how he'd probably have to break things off before they got more serious. But when he picked her up the next day, she climbed into his car wearing jeans and an old sweater, her braids in a messy bun, and smiled at him with such genuine warmth that all his prepared speeches evaporated. "You look worried," she said, reaching over to squeeze his hand. "What's wrong?" Kwon Min drove them to a quiet park outside the city, somewhere they wouldn't be seen by anyone from his organization. They walked along a trail in silence for a few minutes before he finally spoke. "My mother wants to meet you." Tanya stopped walking. "What?" "She found out I was seeing someone. She's demanding I bring you to family dinner on Sunday." "Oh." Tanya sat on a nearby bench looking stunned. "That's... wow. I didn't think we were at the meeting family stage." "We're not. I mean, I don't know what stage we're at." Kwon Min sat beside her, choosing his words carefully. "But you need to understand something about my family. My mother, she has very specific expectations. About who I should be with, how I should live, what kind of person is appropriate for someone in my position." "And I'm not appropriate," Tanya said quietly. "That's not what It's okay." She looked down at her hands. "I knew this was complicated from the start. You're from a completely different world, different culture, different expectations, different everything. And I'm just... Don't," Kwon Min interrupted firmly. "Don't diminish yourself. You're a nurse who saves lives every day. You're smart, funny, kind, strong. You slapped a mafia boss and then had dinner with him. You're not just anything." Tanya smiled slightly. "You said mafia boss. You never admitted that before." "I'm admitting a lot of things today." He took her hand carefully. "But I need you to know what you'd be walking into on Sunday. My mother won't be kind. She'll look for every reason why this shouldn't work. My family, they have traditions, expectations that probably seem strange or unreasonable to you. And honestly..." He paused, struggling. "I don't know if I'm strong enough to go against all of that. Not yet. Maybe not ever." Tanya was quiet for a long moment, watching birds hop along the path. Finally, she said, "My father told me something before I moved to America. He said, 'Tanya, you're going to face people who think you don't belong, who think you should be small, quiet, grateful just to exist in their space. Never believe them.'" She turned to look at Kwon Min directly. "I'll come to dinner. I'll meet your mother. But I'm not going to apologize for who I am or where I'm from. If she can't accept that, then maybe you're right. Maybe this doesn't work." "And if I can't stand up to her?" Kwon Min asked quietly. "What then?" "Then I'll know you're not the man I thought you were," Tanya said simply. "And I'll walk away." The honesty in her voice hurt more than any threat his mother could make. "Okay," Kwon Min said. "Sunday night. I'll pick you up at 6. "Okay." She squeezed his hand once more. "And Kwon Min? Whatever happens, thank you for these past few weeks. They've been really special." He wanted to tell her they weren't over yet. That he'd find a way to make this work. That he was falling for her so hard it terrified him and excited him and made him feel alive in ways he hadn't felt in years. Instead, he just nodded and drove her home in silence, both of them knowing that Sunday night would change everything. Sunday arrived with the kind of gray, drizzly weather that matched Kwon Min's mood perfectly. He picked up Tanya at exactly 6 o'clock, his stomach tight with anxiety. She wore a modest navy dress and had styled her braids elegantly, but he could see the tension in her shoulders as she climbed into his car. "Ready?" he asked. "Absolutely not," she admitted. "But let's do this anyway." His mother's house sat in an exclusive Boston suburb, all modern architecture and careful landscaping. Kwon Min had grown up here, back when his father was alive and things were simpler. Now, it just felt like a museum to expectations he could never quite meet. Mi-sun answered the door, her expression sympathetic. "Good luck," she whispered to Tanya. "You're going to need it." "That's encouraging," Tanya muttered. The dining room was set with his mother's finest china, an obvious power play. Park Jun sat at the head of the table wearing a tailored suit that probably cost more than Tanya made in a month. Two other people sat with her. Kwon Min's uncle Sung Chul and his wife Hai Wan, both staring at Tanya with obvious curiosity. "Mother, uncle, aunt?" "This is Tanya," Kwon Min said, his hand finding the small of Tanya's back protectively. "Tanya, this is my family." "It's nice to meet you all," Tanya said, her voice steady despite her nerves. Park Jun's eyes swept over her from head to toe, a clinical assessment that made Kwon Min's jaw clench. "Sit," she said finally. "Let's eat." Dinner was excruciating. His mother asked questions designed to highlight all the differences between them: where Tanya's family came from, what her father did for work, how long she'd been in America, whether she planned to stay permanently. Each question felt like a small knife, carefully placed. "Your English is very good," Haewon said at one point, in a tone that suggested she expected otherwise. "Thank you," Tanya replied evenly. "I learned it in school back home. Congo was colonized by Belgium, but English is widely taught." "How educational?" his aunt said, though her expression suggested she found it anything but. Kwon Min's hand tightened on his fork. Mi-sun caught his eye across the table, shaking her head slightly in warning. "Don't make it worse." "So," Park Jun said, setting down her chopsticks with deliberate precision. "You're a nurse?" "Yes, ma'am." "And you met my son. How exactly?" Tanya hesitated, glancing at Kwon Min. They'd agreed beforehand not to mention the slapping incident. "At a restaurant," she said carefully. "It was unexpected." "I'm sure it was." His mother's smile didn't reach her eyes. "Kwon Min has many responsibilities: family responsibilities, business responsibilities. I'm sure you understand that his time is very valuable." "Mother," Kwon Min said warningly, "I'm simply being honest." Park Jun turned her full attention to Tanya. "My son will one day lead this family completely. He needs a partner who understands our culture, our traditions, our way of life. Someone who can support him appropriately." "And you think I can't do that?" Tanya said quietly. "I think you're a lovely young woman," his mother replied, her tone making it clear she thought the opposite. "But you and Kwon Min come from very different worlds. Sometimes, no matter how much affection exists between two people, those differences are simply too great to overcome." The table went silent. Tanya set down her own chopsticks slowly, her hands trembling slightly. When she spoke, her voice was calm but firm. "You're right, Mrs. Park. Kwon Min and I do come from different worlds. I grew up in Kinshasa. He grew up here. I'm Christian. He was raised with different beliefs. I work in a hospital saving lives. He runs businesses I don't fully understand." She paused, meeting Park Jun's eyes directly. "But I've spent the last few weeks getting to know your son, and what I've learned is that he's kind, funny, thoughtful, and carrying around a lot of weight he didn't ask for. I've learned that he cares deeply about his family, even when they make things difficult. I've learned that he's more than just his responsibilities. He's a person with dreams and fears and hopes like anyone else." Tanya stood slowly. "If you can't see that because you're too busy worrying about tradition and appearances, then maybe I'm not the one who doesn't understand your son." Kwon Min's heart hammered in his chest. Nobody spoke to his mother like that. Nobody. Park Jun's expression went ice cold. "I think you should leave." "I think you're right." Tanya looked at Kwon Min, her eyes shining with unshed tears. "Thank you for dinner. I'll find my own way home." Tanya, wait. Kwon Min stood, but she was already walking toward the door. Let her go, his mother commanded. No. Kwon Min turned to face Park Jun, something crystallizing inside him. No. I won't let her go. Not like this. Kwon Min, sit down right now. I'm 32 years old, mother. I run your organization. I make decisions every day that affect hundreds of people, and I'm telling you right now. He took a breath, feeling Mi-sun's shocked stare, his uncle's disapproval, his mother's rage. I'm choosing her. You don't mean that, Park Jun said, her voice shaking. I do. Kwon Min headed for the door. Figure out how you want to deal with it, but I'm done living my life according to your expectations. Father wouldn't have wanted this. You know he wouldn't have. He caught up with Tanya in the driveway, rain starting to fall harder now. Tanya, please. She spun to face him, tears mixing with rain on her cheeks. That was humiliating. Your mother looked at me like I was nothing. You're not nothing, Kwon Min said desperately, reaching for her hands. You're everything. Don't you get that? You're everything I didn't know I needed. But I'm not enough for your family. Then my family needs to change. Pulled her closer, not caring that they were both getting soaked. I meant what I said in there. I choose you. I'm choosing you. Tanya searched his face through the rain. Your mother will never accept this. Maybe not today. Maybe not for a long time. But I'll keep choosing you anyway. He touched her cheek gently. If you'll let me. She was quiet for a long moment, the rain drumming around them. Finally, she said, This is going to be so complicated. Probably, he agreed. Your family is going to make things difficult. Definitely. We might not make it through all of this. Maybe. He smiled slightly. But I'd like to try anyway. Tanya let out a shaky breath, then nodded. Okay. We try. But Kwon Min, if you ever make me feel like I'm not enough again, if you ever let your mother or anyone else make me feel small, I'm gone. Understood? Understood. He meant it completely. They stood in the rain for another moment, then both started laughing at the absurdity of it. All. This impossible relationship that neither of them had planned, but both of them wanted desperately. Take me home, Tanya said finally. I need to change into something dry and probably eat an entire pint of ice cream while processing what just happened. Can I join you? Kwon Min asked. The ice cream part, I mean. She smiled through her tears. Yeah, you can join me. As they drove back to her apartment, Kwon Min's phone exploded with texts from his family, angry messages from his mother, worried ones from Mi-sun, disappointed ones from his uncle. He ignored them all, focusing instead on Tanya's hand in his, and the strange, terrifying, wonderful feeling growing in his chest. He'd chosen her. Now he just had to figure out how to make it work. The next 3 months tested them in ways neither expected. Park Jun didn't just disapprove, she actively campaigned against their relationship. She showed up at Kwon Min's office with suitable women, scheduled family meetings, during his dates with Tanya, and made pointed comments about duty and responsibility at every opportunity. She brought another woman to your apartment? Tanya asked, incredulous, as they sat in her tiny living room eating takeout. Her name was Soo-min, very accomplished, very Korean, very not interested once I told her I was seeing someone. Kwon Min picked at his noodles. Mother refuses to give up. This is exhausting, Tanya admitted, leaning back against the couch. I knew it would be hard, but I didn't think it would be this hard. The pressure came from other directions too. Some of Kwon Min's business associates questioned his judgment, wondering if his distraction made him weak. Tanya's coworkers gossiped about the expensive cars that picked her up after shifts, about the mysterious, wealthy boyfriend she'd never properly introduced to anyone. But there were good moments too. So many good moments. Kwon Min took her to New York City for a weekend, where they wandered through museums and argued about art, and ate street food from vendors who reminded Tanya of home. He showed up at the hospital with coffee during her double shifts, sitting quietly in the waiting room just so she'd know he was there. Tanya learned about Korean food, surprising him by making a passable kimchi fried rice in her tiny kitchen. She taught him Lingala phrases that made him laugh at his terrible pronunciation. They went to a batting cage where she discovered she had better aim than him, which he found both frustrating and adorable. "You're good at everything," he complained, after she hit another perfect line drive. "Not everything," Tanya laughed. "I still can't use those metal chopsticks you gave me without dropping food everywhere." They talked about everything. Their childhoods, their fears, their dreams for futures that might never align. Kwon Min told her about the pressure of running an organization he never asked to lead, about feeling trapped by expectations he couldn't escape. Tanya told him about leaving her family behind, about the guilt of building a life in America while they struggled in Congo. "Sometimes I wonder if I'm selfish," she admitted one night, curled against him on her couch. "For staying here. For wanting things they'll never have." "You send them money every month," Kwon Min pointed out. "You're paying for your younger sister's education. That's not selfish." "But I'm not there. I'm here. With you. Living this strange life I never imagined." "Do you regret it?" he asked quietly. Tanya tilted her head to look at him. "No. Do you?" "Not for a second." But the strain continued building. 4 months in, Mi-sun called Kwon Min in a panic. "Mother's planning something. I heard her on the phone with Uncle Sang-chul. I think they're going to force you to choose. Officially. The family, or Tanya." "They can't do that." "They can, and they will," Mi-sun said urgently. "Kwon Min, you need to be prepared. Mother's never accepted defeat on anything. She's not going to start now." He was right to worry. The ultimatum came during a family business meeting 2 days later. Park Jun stood at the head of the conference table, her expression carved from stone. "This relationship has gone on long enough," she announced. "It's affecting your judgment, your focus, and our family's reputation. I'm giving you a choice, Kwon Min. End it now, or I'll remove you from leadership of this organization." The room went silent. Kwon Min stared at his mother in disbelief. "You can't be serious." "I'm completely serious. Your uncle has agreed to take over operations if necessary. You have until the end of the week to decide. Your position, or that woman." "Her name is Tanya," Kwon Min said coldly. "I don't care what her name is," Park Jun snapped. "I care about this family's future. Now choose." Kwon Min stood slowly, his mind racing. Everything his father had built, everything he'd worked for. His mother was willing to take it all away because of who he loved. "I need to think," he said finally. "Don't think too long," his mother replied. "The clock is already running." Kwon Min left the meeting in a daze, driving aimlessly through Boston until he found himself outside Tanya's hospital. He texted her, asking if she could take a break, and 20 minutes later they sat in his car in the parking garage. "She's making you choose," Tanya said after he explained everything. It wasn't a question. "Yes. And if you choose me, you lose everything you've worked for." "It's not just work, it's my family legacy, my father's memory, everything that makes me who I am." Tanya nodded slowly, her expression carefully neutral. "And if you choose the organization, you lose me." "That's not what I want." "I know." She touched his hand gently. "But Kwon Min, maybe your mother's right. Maybe we've been fooling ourselves thinking this could work." "No," he said sharply. "Don't say that. We've been together 5 months, and it's been beautiful and difficult and exhausting. But it's not getting easier. Your family hates me. My coworkers think I'm dating some kind of criminal. We're from completely different worlds trying to force something that probably doesn't fit. It does fit, Kwan-min insisted desperately. We fit. Tanya's eyes filled with tears. Then prove it. Make a choice. Because I can't keep doing this. Loving you while knowing you're torn in half every single day. It's killing both of us. If I choose you, I have nothing else to offer, he said quietly. No organization, no money, no power. Just me. Would that be enough? The question hung between them like smoke. Tanya pulled her hand back, wiping her eyes. I need you to figure out what you want. Not what your mother wants. Not what I want. What you truly want for your life. And then make that choice. Tanya, I love you, she said simply. The first time either of them had said those words out loud. Love you so much it scares me. But I won't be the reason you destroy your relationship with your family, and I won't be something you resent years from now because you gave up everything for me. So please, take the week. Think. Decide. And whatever you choose, I'll respect it. She climbed out of the car before he could respond, disappearing back into the hospital. Kwan-min sat alone in the parking garage for an hour, his entire world collapsing around him. The week that followed was the longest of his life. He barely slept, couldn't eat, moved through his days like a ghost. Mi-sun tried to talk to him, but he had nothing to say. His mother watched him with cold satisfaction, certain she'd already won. Tanya didn't call or text, giving him the space she'd promised. On Thursday night, Kwan-min found himself standing in front of his father's grave. The headstone was simple, elegant, just like his father had been. I don't know what to do, he said to the silent stone. You married, Mother, because it was right for the family. You built this organization to protect us, provide for us. And now she's asking me to do the same thing, choose duty over love. The wind rustled through the cemetery trees. But you loved her, Kwan-min continued. I remember how you looked at her, how you'd hold her hand when you thought we weren't watching. So what do I do? How do I choose? No answer came. Just silence and wind and the weight of impossible decisions. Friday morning arrived gray and cold. Kwan-min walked into the family meeting at exactly 9 o'clock. His mother sat in her usual place, Uncle Sang-chul beside her, Mi-sun in the corner looking worried and sad. Well? Park Jun said. Have you made your choice? Kwan-min took a breath. I have. And? I choose Tanya. His mother's face went white, then red. You're throwing away everything for some girl you've known less than 6 months? She's not just some girl. She's the woman I love. And yes, I'm choosing her. Kwan-min straightened his shoulders. But I'm not just walking away. I'll transition my responsibilities to Uncle Sang-chul over the next month. I'll make sure everything is handled properly, that nothing falls apart because of my decision. Then I'm done. You'll have nothing, his mother spat. No money, no power, no protection. I'll have myself, Kwan-min replied calmly. And maybe that's enough. Park Jun stood trembling with rage. Get out. Get out of my sight right now. Gladly. Kwan-min turned to leave, then paused at the door. Father would have understood this, Mother. He chose love too, remember? He just got lucky that duty and love aligned for him. Mine doesn't. But I'm making the same choice he would have made if forced to pick. He left before she could respond, his hands shaking but his heart somehow lighter than it had felt in weeks. Kwan-min drove straight to the hospital, but Tanya wasn't there. Her shift had ended an hour ago. He tried her. Apartment next, knocking urgently on her door. She answered in sweatpants and an old t-shirt, her eyes red like she'd been crying. I chose you, Kwan-min said immediately. I'm losing everything else, but I chose you. Because you're right. I need to decide what I truly want for my life, and what I want, It's you. Just you. Tanya stared at him, tears spilling over. Kwon Min. I know it's crazy. I know I'm giving up everything my father built. I know we'll probably struggle and fight and face 100 more problems. But I don't care. I love you, Tanya. And I choose you. She threw herself into his arms, both of them laughing and crying at the same time. You're insane, she said against his chest. Probably, he agreed. But I'm your kind of insane. What happens now? Now? Kwon Min pulled back to look at her face. Now we figure it out together. No family pressure, no impossible expectations. Just us. Just us, Tanya repeated, smiling through her tears. I like the sound of that. They stood in her doorway for a long time, holding each other while the world rearranged itself around them. Different but somehow right, terrifying but full of possibility, the beginning of something they'd build together from nothing. Kwon Min had spent his whole life being told who he should be, what he should want, how he should live. For the first time ever, he was making his own choice, and it felt like freedom. 2 years later, Kwon Min sat in a small office above a Korean Congolese fusion restaurant he and Tanya had opened together in Boston's diverse Dorchester neighborhood. His phone buzzed. A text from me, son. Mother's here, says she wants to talk. Should I stall? He smiled, typing back. No. Send her up. Park Jun climbed the stairs slowly, looking older than Kwon Min remembered. She paused in the doorway, taking in his modest office, so different from the luxury she'd raised him in. The restaurant smells good, she said finally. Popular? Very, Kwon Min replied, leaning back in his chair. Tanya's Congolese recipes combined with Korean flavors. People love it. And you're happy? Doing this instead of running the organization? Happier than I've been in years, he said honestly. His mother sat in the chair across from his desk, quiet for a long moment. Your father would have liked her, she admitted quietly. Tanya. She's stronger than I gave her credit for. She is. And you were right. About what he would have chosen. Park Jun's hands twisted in her lap. I've been thinking about that a lot lately. Why are you here, Mother? To apologize, she said, the words clearly difficult. And to ask if maybe I could meet your wife properly. Not as someone to judge or test, but as the woman my son loves. Kwon Min felt something ease in his chest, something he didn't realize had still been tight. She's working the lunch shift downstairs. I'll introduce you. Park Jun nodded, standing. At the door, she paused. You gave up everything for her. And gained everything that matters, Kwon Min replied. His mother almost smiled. Your father said something similar once. About me. I'd forgotten that. She descended the stairs and Kwon Min watched from the office window as his mother approached Tanya behind the restaurant counter. They spoke briefly, his mother's posture stiff, Tanya's cautious but open. Then, slowly, both women smiled. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't easy, but it was a beginning, and sometimes that was enough. Thanks for reading our story. Drop a like if you enjoyed the journey, and share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you.